Most gamers think 1440p is that awkward middle child, too demanding for cheap cards, not worth the splurge for 4K beasts. But the thing is, it's actually the sweet spot where smart buyers strike gold. So let's break down the market's top 5 best GPUs for 1440p gaming, from the underdog that shocks reviewers to the overkill option that future-proofs your rig. As always, you'll find the links below. Let's begin. We kick off with the Intel Arc B580. If you are looking to jump into 1440p gaming without needing a small loan, this is arguably your best entry point right now. It's built on Intel's new Battlemage Xe2 HPG architecture, which represents a massive leap forward in stability and raw power compared to their previous generation. Under the hood, you are getting 12GB of GDDR6 VRAM on a 192-bit bus, running at a speedy 19GB per second. That VRAM buffer is actually quite generous for this tier, giving you enough headroom for modern high-resolution textures. It connects via PCIe 4.0x16 and even supports DisplayPort 2.1. Gameplay-wise, you can expect around 70 to 80 FPS on high settings in demanding titles like Cyberpunk 2077. That's largely thanks to Intel's XeSS 2.0 AI upscaling, which boosts frame rates by nearly 30 to 40% in supported games. Hogwarts Legacy runs smoothly at about 75 FPS, and even Starfield holds a steady 60 FPS. If you are into esports, it easily pushes Valorant past 165 FPS and CS2 into the 140 to 160 range. Physically, the card stays composed under pressure. The striped axial fans and metal backplate keep temperatures chilling between 60 and 65 degrees Celsius. Plus, the 0 decibel mode means the fans stop completely under low loads, keeping things silent when you aren't gaming. For the creators out there, the hardware-level AV1 encoding is excellent for OBS streaming, keeping your video sharp even at lower bit rates. Now, sure, there are trade-offs. You absolutely must enable resizable bar in your BIOS. Without it, the performance takes a significant nosedive. Also, while DX12 performance is solid, older DX9 titles can still be a bit inconsistent. You will also want a capable power supply, ideally around 850 watt, to handle occasional power spikes. Yet, considering the value, the B580 punches way above its weight class. Coming in at number 4, we have the AMD Radeon RX 9060 XT. If the previous card was the entry-level hero, this one is the definition of a mid-range powerhouse. It is built on AMD's fresh RDNA 4 architecture and brings serious specifications to the table that make it a standout for longevity. The biggest selling point here is undoubtedly the massive 16GB of GDDR6 VRAM running at a blistering 20,000 MHz memory speed. That memory capacity is crucial because it ensures you are future-proofed against the increasingly demanding texture packs of modern games. The card utilizes a PCIe 5.0x16 interface and boasts factory clock speeds hovering around 2700 MHz. When you actually get into 1440p gaming, things get impressive. You can expect to run modern AAA titles at high to ultra settings with very smooth frame pacing. In fact, many users report that heavy titles like Battlefield 6 run effortlessly even when maxed out. If you prefer high refresh esports, titles like Valorant easily push past the 200 FPS mark. While ray tracing is supported, it isn't its absolute strongest suit compared to the competition, but enabling FSR upscaling effectively mitigates any frame drops. For the creators out there, the inclusion of hardware-based AV1 encoding means your streams will look crisp without eating up all your bandwidth. And to keep things cool, it employs the WindForce system with 3 alternate spinning fans and server-grade thermal gel. This keeps the card stable during marathon sessions. However, you need to consider the physical footprint. At over 11 inches long and nearly 3 pounds, this is a chunky card that requires a spacious case to fit comfortably. But for raw dollar-for-dollar performance, it's still hard to beat. Next, we have the Nvidia RTX 5060 Ti 16GB. Now, this isn't just a simple refresh. It's built on Nvidia's cutting-edge Blackwell architecture, and it brings some serious heat to the mid-range market. The headline feature here is undoubtedly the inclusion of 16GB of GDDR7 memory. Now, you might notice on the spec sheet that it uses a narrower 128-bit bus. Usually, that would be a bottleneck. But thanks to the sheer speed of GDDR7, the memory bandwidth still hits a respectable 448 GB per second. When you pair that with a boost clock of 2632 MHz, the results are impressive. For 1440p gaming, this card relies heavily on DLSS 4, which is a massive leap over the previous generation. With 767 AI TOPS dedicated to processing, DLSS 4 frame generation makes ray-traced titles play incredibly smoothly at high settings. If you are into competitive shooters like Valorant or Fortnite, you are easily looking at frame rates between 120 and 200 FPS. Physically, this card is a dream for compact builds. Unlike the massive card we just looked at, this features a 2.5 slot design that is only about 9 inches long. The Axial Tech fans use a smaller hub to allow for longer blades, which keeps temperatures chilling in the low 60s Celsius. It is also worth noting that it uses a standard 8-pin power connector, so you won't need to fumble with new adapters. However, there is a caveat. The factory overclock is minimal, offering only a 1% gain out of the box, so you might want to manually tweak the settings to unlock its full potential. Also, due to the high demand for GDDR7 in data centers, finding these at their original MSRP can be tricky. But for the tech you get, it's undoubtedly a standout choice. Coming in at number 2 is the AMD Radeon RX 9070 XTOC. If the previous pick was about smart compromises, this one is about raw, unadulterated speed. Built on the refined RDNA 4 architecture, this card is essentially a high-refresh 1440p monster that isn't afraid to push into 4K territory. The specification sheet here is frankly ridiculous. You are looking at a massive 16GB of GDDR6 VRAM, which ensures those ultra-quality textures in modern games load without a hitch. But the standout stat is the GPU clock speed. In OC mode, this silicon pushes towards 4000 MHz, which is a massive leap over previous generations. It rides on a PCIe 5.0 x16 interface and includes DisplayPort 2.1a, so your connectivity is as future-proof as it gets for next-gen monitors. Now, let's talk about what this means for your actual gameplay. When you throw a visually demanding title like Red Dead Redemption 2 at it, you aren't just getting playable frame rates. You are seeing a smooth 100 to 110 FPS at 1440p ultra settings. For competitive shooters, it naturally clears 200 FPS without breaking a sweat. What is surprising, though, is the efficiency. Despite that performance, stress tests show it draws around 180 to 190 watts, running drastically cooler than you might expect for this tier. The card uses Axial Tech fans with a smaller hub and longer blades to increase downward pressure, spinning on dual ball bearings that last twice as long as standard sleeves. Combined with a phase change thermal pad, load temperatures rarely exceed 57 degrees Celsius. Plus, the 0 decibel technology means complete silence during light workloads. However, at over 12 inches long, it demands a spacious chassis to fit comfortably, whereas some users also note occasional coil whine. Yet, if you can look past those minor grievances, the rasterization performance is undeniably impressive. And finally, we have arrived at the absolute king of the hill with the Nvidia RTX 5070 Ti OC Edition. If you have been waiting for the ultimate 1440p gaming experience without compromising on a single setting, this is exactly where your search ends. It is built on Nvidia's revolutionary Blackwell architecture, and to be honest, the specifications sheet is nothing short of staggering. You are getting 16GB of the brand new GDDR7 VRAM. While that alone is massive, unlike its little brother, the 5060 Ti, this beast utilizes a full, wide 256-bit memory bus. When you combine that extra lane width with the blistering speed of GDDR7, you get a total memory bandwidth of nearly 896GB per second. That is the kind of raw throughput that eats high-resolution textures for breakfast. In practice, it means you can max out virtually any AAA title at 1440p ultra settings with zero hesitation. The ray tracing performance is significantly stronger than the AMD rival we just looked at, and that is largely thanks to the new DLSS 4 technology. With roughly 1,000 AI TOPS dedicated purely to processing, the AI-driven frame generation here represents a generational leap over DLSS 3. You are looking at smoother motion and higher frame rates that feel completely native. If you play competitive titles like Valorant or CS2, you will easily clear 200 FPS, taking full advantage of high refresh monitors. Nvidia designed this with a 2.5 slot form factor, meaning it fits comfortably into smaller cases where other high-end cards might struggle. It uses Axial Tech fans that feature a special barrier ring to increase downward air pressure. This keeps the card running continuously cool, typically sitting in the mid-60s Celsius even under heavy loads. You also get a dual BIOS switch right on the card, which lets you physically toggle between a performance mode for maximum clock speeds hitting around 2.7 GHz and a quiet mode where the fans stop completely under low loads. For the creators watching, that high AI TOPS rating makes this a monster for generative AI workloads and AV1 encoding, speeding up your workflow significantly. Now, I have to be real with you about the cost. Top-tier performance commands a premium price on the current market demand. But if you want a card that essentially future-proofs your rig for the next several years, this is the one to buy. Thanks for stopping by. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe to Master iTech for more tech content like this. Catch you in the next video.